A good Monday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ben Dery. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 Plus. Happy Monday, and yes, it is a wet start to the work week. We have a weather impact alert in effect all the way through this afternoon and early evening, as yes, the rain has been falling. Pretty steady and widespread rain basically through the rest of the afternoon. It's not until this evening and overnight that we see the rain starting to break up. The positive news is we don't have a great chance of seeing severe weather today, at least here in the Twin Cities in central and northern Minnesota. There is a late afternoon thunderstorm threat, but it's mainly across far southeastern Minnesota. Some lightning, some brief heavier downpours, and a marginal hail risk there. But again, most of us are just going to see this light, steady, what we call stratiform rain that doesn't really change in intensity, and that pretty much is the case through the rest of the afternoon. Now it's going to add to our rainfall totals that we've seen so far this month. This is the April rainfall so far for the Twin Cities at MSP, St. Cloud, Brainerd, Rochester, and Duluth. The top number is how much we've seen so far. Keep in mind that does not include today. That is the almanac up to yesterday evening. The middle number, that's the normal to date, and the bottom is the departure from average. And you can see most of our cities from Twin Cities, St. Cloud, and Brainerd all have a deficit, especially Brainerd, close to an inch of a rainfall deficit. Meanwhile, southeastern Minnesota, Rochester is at about a 1-inch surplus, and Duluth has a bit of a surplus as well. Now here's how much rain we picked up so far. This is as of about midday, and you can certainly see some heavy rain through some parts of the state. Places like Laverne, Jackson already picking up over an inch, even an inch and a half in Jackson. Wilmer's already closing in on an inch, same with St. Cloud. Lesser rainfall further south and east. Rochester has just over 1/10 of an inch, but we're going to see that rainfall total continue to climb as that steady rain continues to come down. Now here's what we mean by stratiform rain. You can see it's basically one solid swath of rain, and it's all relatively the same color. A lot of greens, maybe some yellows that would indicate more moderate rainfall, but we don't have the brighter colors like the oranges and the reds. That's more the thunderstorm activity, and you can see this main swath of precip is rotating its way through the central part of the state and eventually up into northern Minnesota. You got to head south of the Minnesota-Iowa border before we see any thunderstorm development. And this is interesting too, a little synoptic meteorology. This here is called the dry slot. It's drier air that's kind of wedging its way in as that low pressure system spins basically over central Minnesota. And you can see where we had that dry slot is where we have clearing taking place. So some sunshine has started to show up over parts of Iowa and eventually over southeastern parts of Minnesota. That sunshine leads to a localized warming effect. So when the sun comes out, you can feel the temperatures warming up. That's actually increasing instability in the atmosphere because warm air rises. Now there's a frontal system that's working its way from west to east through western Iowa, and you can kind of faintly see that line right there that's just about to push into Des Moines and the Ames area, basically along I-35 in Iowa. That's that frontal system that's going to tap into that instability, and that's where we're going to see the development of some late afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Not going to be the case around the Twin Cities because it's just too cloudy, it's just too rainy, so we don't have that added instability that's going to give us those thunderstorm chances. Here's the severe weather outlook for today. There's a moderate risk for severe weather that centers itself around Louisville and eastern Missouri, but parts of Illinois still have another good chance at more severe weather. Illinois is topping the entire lower 48 for severe weather so far this season. The yellow shaded area, that's a slight risk for severe weather. That works its way through the Quad Cities area and maybe the Cedar Rapids area in Iowa, and this green shaded area, that's a marginal risk for severe weather, 1 out of 5 on the severity. And notice it just clips far southeastern Minnesota, say from the Albert Lee area towards maybe just south of Rochester and La Crosse. Those areas have that marginal severe or marginal hail risk where the chance for thunderstorms is there, but the chance for severe weather is actually fairly low. So this is microcast, which is going to take us through the rest of the day today. There's our main precip shield that's again rotating its way through the state. We'll pause this at 5 o'clock, and you can see that line right there of some thunderstorm activity that's probably just south and east of the Twin Cities through the southeastern corner of the state. That would be our hail threat later today. And again, marginal hail possible, some small P, maybe up to dime-sized hail possible in some of those larger cells, while the rest of us just deal with that steady rainfall through the rest of the afternoon, probably through the evening commute. And once we get into the overnight hours, we're on the back edge of this system. Still some lighter showers around by 10 o'clock, but our weather impact alert will be allowed to expire at 6 p.m. today because most of the heaviest stuff is pretty much going to be done. As we head deeper into tonight, clearing takes place from west to east, and tomorrow we'll see cooler but sunnier conditions, and we'll stay on the brighter side through most of the rest of the week, and lesser chances for showers, but those temperatures are likely going to stay a few degrees cooler than average pretty much through the rest of the week. So remember last week we saw 50s, 60s, even 80s for high temperatures. This week will be pretty steady for temperatures, upper 50s to near 60 degrees. Rounds of rain during the day today, although we're kind of in that steady stuff for the rest of the afternoon. Southeast winds will turn westerly overnight tonight, and eventually a gusty northwest wind that'll pull in that cooler but again drier air for the days ahead. These are forecast highs for today. Notice on the warmer side of a frontal boundary, we're on the milder side, upper 50s to low 60s, and then 40s for western and northern Minnesota. And as we head into Tuesday, there's your brighter conditions. Pretty much sunshine throughout, maybe a few cumulus clouds in the afternoon, but temperatures seasonably cool. Average highs now in the lower 60s, will be basically in the upper 50s through the rest of the week. Mainly dry Tuesday through Friday with a warming trend as we head into the first weekend of May.